Welcome to Horror Cinema Obsession, the place where horror lives and breathes. I'm Richard.
And I'm Angeles. Every week, we dive deep into the dark heart of horror cinema, tackling a new film and dissecting the fear, the fun, and the fantastically odd.
We're here to explore it all, from the terrifyingly brilliant to the downright awful, and everything that makes you scream, how did this get made?
Expect to journey through the best and the worst, the iconic and the obscure,
as we share our love, our laughs, and sometimes our sheer disbelief at the world of horror movies.
So, get comfortable, or perhaps uncomfortable, and join us for Horror Cinema Obsession, where every flick has a story and every scare has its glory.
All right. Welcome. How are you doing? How's my beautiful co-host, Angeles?
I'm great, dude. How are you doing, Richard?
Pretty good. I had the day off. A rare Friday off, which was nice. I got a 3-day weekend.
That must be nice.
Yeah. How was your work day?
It was really hectic. I had calls on calls on calls and meetings on meetings.
Oh, that is
It was a lot of improvise, but I pushed through. I survived.
Yeah, that's never fun. But hey, we're here now. Perfect nightcapper. Well, I can't say it's a nightcapper. This is in between, guys. We're recording at 7:30 right now. We're excited. We're pumped. We're going to be seeing Abigail tonight.
Woo!
So yeah, I'm pretty pumped on that.
I am too.
Mm-hmm.
So welcome back, everyone, to the podcast where Richard and I watch different versions of the same movie.
Oh, we have different viewpoints.
We do.
Oh my gosh. Well, sometimes. I think you see my way like more often than not, right?
Yeah.
I see your way too. You bring up some good points. The movie we watched for this week's episode was the Blair Witch Project 1999.
Voted by you, our listeners.
Our loyal listeners. Yeah, I appreciate it. I appreciate the participation. It's awesome.
Richard, were you excited by the results of the poll?
So, I mean, obviously I'm excited for the fans. I'm excited for, the interaction and participation. But if I could be real, this is not the film I wanted to do. But apparently everybody likes it. And I'm not saying I don't like it. But there's a big but. I'm just not a big found footage guy. So for me, it's okay.
Richard was really hoping the results would lean more towards Chucky 3.
Child's Play 3.
Child's Play 3.
Hey, that's okay. There's always down the road. We got plenty of days, plenty of weeks, plenty of episodes to cover that. Your initial thoughts on this movie. I'm curious. Folks, we don't talk about this before the pod, so this is all like instantaneous. I'm curious to honestly think or hear what she thinks about it.
First time watching it, I was excited. Wait.
This was the first time you've ever watched it?
No, I watched this before.
Oh, okay.
In the 2000s sometime. No, but first time watching it, it was very hyped up from everyone, especially with the commercials, the way that it was being promoted. Real fun footage. They made it look very realistic. So watching it the first time, I watched it with my brother. It freaked us the heck out.
Ooh.
Because I was like, oh shit. Like, it's a movie, but parts of it you would forget that it was a movie. And it gave you more of a vibe of a documentary, that it was real. And you just like, at times we were getting so invested in what was happening that it was like, oh my God, is this real? How is this a movie? This looks very real.
And how old were you?
I don't know. However old I was in my teenager years.
Your teen years?
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. Yeah, I had similar thing. I watched this. Again, I had a teenage sister, so I got to see kind of all the up-and-coming horror stuff that was coming out. I seen this at a young age. I had to have been 8, I think. And initially, this movie scared the living shit out of me.
You were 8 when this came out?
In 1999, wasn't I?
I don't know. I was 10 in 1999.
Oh, okay. So I was 10 too, guys. I was 9.
Richard's math is not math.
I was
right?
9 years old. I was a
I
year
was
off.
like,
Okay.
whoa, whoa, whoa.
You're breaking my balls. You're breaking my balls over here.
I was like, you've been lying to me about your age. We need to talk.
Oh my God. Okay. Anyways, I correction, I was 9 or 10 years old. This movie did scare the living shit out of me initially. I did think it was real. But later on, because it had such an impact and it was such a cultural craze, obviously we could do the research and stuff. And it wasn't real, but I was fascinated how it was made. So over the years, I was just curious how they made this and really how amazing this even got like taken off the ground.
That was made.
Yeah, because that was unreal, which we'll cover down the road here on the episode, but really cool considering all the actors were not actors at the time, very amateur, and they had to direct it pretty much. They're all shooting with the camera and just getting guidance from a distance, which is that's kind of a cool feat. It's a really like a Tropic Thunder type of thing.
Oh, it was like, oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, anyways, 1999, this is a pretty big year. Again, it's huge. We had some blockbusters. I know I was excited in 1999 about Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace.
Is this one of the movies that you had me watch?
No, those were the
okay.
originals.
This one I didn't watch?
This had a young Anakin Skywalker.
Oh.
And everybody's favorite character, screw you guys if you don't agree, Jar Jar Binks. Dude, I fucking love that character. It was bold, and I like George Lucas's vision.
Okay.
Following up with that, we had a huge, and actually, guys, I shit all over M. Night Shyamalan last episode. And that does hold true. But this is one of the movies that I actually do like, and I remember seeing this specifically in theaters, The Sixth Sense.
With Bruce Willis?
Yeah, and one of the best endings and twists that I don't care what anybody says, that was one of the best, and it was hard to see it coming back then.
It was good. I liked it. I was shocked.
And there's a reason M. Night Shyamalan tries to do this on every movie he's ever directed and fails epically. He got lucky the first time, and he did strike gold, which I'll give him kudos. I'll give him his flowers on that because The Sixth Sense is pretty good. And if I remember right, like I've seen this a while back ago, and it still holds up.
The movie?
Yeah, how long ago have you seen The Sixth Sense?
Oh, it's been a long time since I watched it.
Yeah, it's one of those ones that gets less effective, the twist, but the story itself's pretty good.
That's good. It's good.
But then we have Toy Story 2, the sequel to the original huge hit Toy Story. This year we had another groundbreaking film, The Matrix, directed by the Wachowskis, and it became a cultural phenomenon and influenced many aspects of filmmaking and popular culture. Everybody knows the scenes where Keanu's like leaning back, bullets are getting shot, and he's kind of dodging bullets.
Richard, would you take the red pill or the blue pill?
Oh, I'm going red, baby.
You're going red?
Yeah, red's the one where you
stay in the...
Oh, no, I'm taking blue then. It's whatever the one where I gotta eat like slop.
Where you come out?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't remember what colors they were.
Yeah. But yeah, The Matrix was pretty good. We had Tarzan.
One of my favorite animated movies.
Oh, dude, the soundtrack, Phil Collins.
The soundtrack is fire.
Oh, Phil Collins fucking kicked ass. I love that. So all my Turks out there, you know what I'm talking about.
Hoop, hoop, hoop.
Also, we brought this up last episode, I believe, and one of Angelus's favorite movies, starring Brendan Fraser,
Rachel Weisz, Arnold Vosloo, and Oded Fehr, The Mummy.
Oh, she was ready for that. The Mummy, which, hey, I love The Mummy. We covered that. I like all the mummies. They're entertaining. Although the CGI when The Rock was the Scorpion King, that was total dog shit.
I think I only watched the beginning of that movie and it took me out. I was like, no Brendan Fraser, no original character.
Whoa. No, Brendan Fraser is in that.
Oh, well, this tells you
so-
how far into it I got before I turned it
No,
off.
so I think there was a Scorpion King movie, specifically it was The Rock. But no, this one had The Rock where he was half scorpion, half rock.
He
You've
was
seen the
briefly
sequel.
in this one, right?
Yeah, at
Okay.
the end. And then you have the romantic comedy with Julia Roberts and Hugh Grant, Notting Hill. Not up my alley. I can't remember too much of it.
My
We had James Bond, The World Is Not Enough. It followed its usual formula of action and espionage. We had an Oscar-winning movie with Kevin Spacey. I believe he was the best actor. Maybe not. I can't remember. But American Beauty, which I never really got into. I think it was kind of overrated, if you ask me. But
I don't think I've even heard of it before.
And then one that I did watch on my day off today, Austin Powers. Yeah, baby. Sorry, my impression sucks, but it got me pumped. I was so pumped. Angelos had to go into the office and work because I was like just quoting and just wouldn't stop. So, yeah. So Austin Powers, the spy who shagged me.
Is this where was Fat Bastard in this one?
Yeah.
Oh.
I eat because I'm unhappy.
Fat Bastard was in this one?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
And then the
dude,
third
that
one,
movie-
the third one was where his dad was in it, where you're
Gold member.
Yeah. Sing the song.
Daddy wasn't there to take me to the fair to change my underwear. Daddy wasn't there. Dude, best song. Fucking, it's catchy.
We're huge Michael Myers, Austin Powers fans. Wayne's World, shout out to.
Dude, and then they do a scene when they're in jail when Dr. Evil and Mini-Me are locked up. They join a gang.
Oh, yeah, and they sing A Hard Knock Life.
Yes. Those movies are great.
It is. I love that humor.
Yeah, and then this year was kind of another movie that came out that was, I don't know, I feel like it falls into a certain genre. Girl Interrupted.
Ooh, that's the one with Angelina Jolie, right?
Winona Ryder, Brittany Murphy, and Elizabeth Moss. And then we also have another Julia Roberts movie, Runaway Bride.
She was
Richard
huge.
Gere, Joan Cusack. At that time, I remember that was one of my little guilty pleasures. I watched that movie a couple times.
She was huge in mid to late 90s. She was catching heat early 90s. I know that with like Mystic Pizza and Flatliners, but man, that was the peak of her powers. I remember her retiring. I thought it was like, oh, this is just bullshit. Wanting to like be with her family and kind of stop acting for a while. But man, kudos to her leaving at the top.
Yeah, and then we also have Big Daddy.
Ooh.
With Adam Sandler, Cole and Dylan Sprouse, and then Rob Schneider.
Mm-hmm.
And then one of Viana's favorite movies, 10 Things I Hate About You, with Julia Stiles, Heather Ledger, Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Whoa. Heath Ledger.
Heath. Sorry.
Not Heather. What the hell?
I'm stuck on the movie. The girl's name's Heather.
Oh.
Heath Ledger. And yeah, that's all the other mentionables for.
Wait, whoa.
1999
We've got more mentionables here.
No, not top, but
Top ones.
Sorry.
The Green Mile. That one's freaking awesome. That's it's based off a Stephen King novel, and Tom Hanks explores the themes of justice and supernatural events within Depression-era prison, which is pretty good. And then another movie that absolutely kicked ass, and that was the craze, Fight Club.
You're breaking the rule.
Oh, we don't talk about it?
We don't talk about it.
Well, guess what? I'm talking about it. I thought this is a David Fincher movie I love.
Dude, I love this movie.
The Fight Club. Oh my God. Dude, any movie that has meatloaf in it stands out. I'm sorry. But yeah. And then, yeah, just a couple other ones. We had October Sky, Three Kings, Eyes Wide Shut was a huge one. That was a Stanley Kubrick vision. But for horror movies, this was a particularly kind of in-betweener. I don't know if it's like necessarily strong, but it has movies that I appreciate. and like. Let me know, have you seen any of these?
Yes. There's a
Um,
few on here that I recognize.
so we already mentioned it. The Blair Witch Project, obviously we're covering that. The Sixth Sense. Sleepy Hollow. That
Twilight
one's
Wave?
kind of a silent sleeper. Johnny Depp is in that one. It's directed by Tim Burton. I don't mind that one, but it's not
I like it. I've watched it so many times.
really.
I enjoy it. Johnny Depp, Christina Ricci,
Wee.
one of your little teenage crushes, and then
Mm-hmm.
Christopher Walken.
Oh, that's right.
He
I
was
forgot
the
about that.
Headless Horseman.
One that I do like though. Have you ever seen Stir of Echoes? That came out this year.
This year?
Again, we bring him up. You probably haven't seen it because you didn't even know who he was. Kevin Bacon. He stars in this movie.
I remember now who Kevin Bacon.
He gets disturbing visions after being hypnotized. Oh, and then here's a good one, and I forgot, and it has the classic epic kill in it. Samuel Jackson gets eaten by a shark in Deep Blue Sea. LL Cool J's the chef in that. Love that movie. Then you have a remake of The Haunting, which is that one was okay if I remember right.
Yeah.
I remember in that one Owen Wilson gets his head cut off in the fireplace.
See him, Gina?
Mm-hmm. The seventh movie that came out was Lake Placid. Do you remember this one?
I don't know that I watched this.
The big ass crocodile?
Uh-uh.
Oh man, we'll have to cover that one. It's pretty good. It's more of a comedy. And then we have Idle Hands.
Dude, I love Idle Hands.
It has Vivica A. Fox in it.
Jessica Alba.
Who's the
kid?
Yeah, he plays in Final Destination as well.
He is Devon Sawa?
Yeah, Devon Sawa. Yeah, that movie, I think Seth Green's in it, maybe?
Seth Green, Eldon Henson
Oh,
were the top
yeah.
primary actors. I just remember that movie came out again, teenage years, and I just remember watching it over and over again.
Yeah, and then, and then to round these out, we have End of Days, an Arnold Schwarzenegger thriller horror. I believe he was just coming off, I think he had a stroke or a heart attack, but this is his first movie back. Kicks ass. I love it. Wishmaster 2, it's a good B movie. You have Virus from Dusk Till Dawn 2, and then The Astronaut's Wife, another Johnny Depp movie, I believe, co-stars with Charlize Theron. And then, yeah, that pretty much rounds out the movies for the year. For me, it's kind of a in-betweener. It's nothing like super huge that stands out in the years of cinematography, but
You know what stood
I
out
thought
to
it was
me?
pretty good.
You had me watch this recently, The Bone Collector.
Oh, dude, with Denzel Washington.
And Angelina Jolie. Queen Latifah was in there.
I love The Bone Collector.
Another one that I saw came out this year was Rage Carrie.
Oh, that's a sequel. That one's good.
Yeah, that one is good too. Which
Um,
usually sequels are not.
Yeah, we'll have to let's
or
note
miss.
that. Let's note that one to cover.
Yes.
That one's pretty good.
Mm.
Do you have anything else?
No, just those other two came out besides all the ones that we already had.
So,
That we had already found.
so we did have some bangers come out in 99. Okay, guys, 1999 kicked ass just like the rest of the years we've covered so far. As you can tell, I think we just overall like movies. So I think every year is going to have some fucking
Bangers.
yeah, that totally blow my mind, and I say it's the best year ever. So keep in mind, I'm gonna probably say every year is.
Richard, for those of you that don't know Richard, is very passionate.
I'm Italian. It's just natural. It's in my DNA. I can't help it. Okay, I'm a passionate person. You can't see me right now, but I talk with my hands.
He throws water at people.
That was one time, bro.
I am really excited. Richard did the nicest thing ever.
What's that?
He went dumpster diving for me this week. And he found me a nice, comfortable chair.
Oh my god. Why are you telling people that?
I'm just kidding. He was very nice and he bought me a really nice, comfortable chair.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Wink, wink.
Wink, wink.
I bought it off a homeless guy.
You're so dumb.
Hey, times are tough here at Horror Cinema Obsession,
We're
okay?
trying.
Okay.
Okay.
Um so yeah, let's take a quick break and then we'll get into the cast and directors. Sound good?
Sounds good.
All right, see you in a second. All right, and we're back. Angelus, do your Austin Powers impression. I gotta hear it.
I don't have a good one.
We were just doing them. I know mine sucks. I put it on air. Why can't you be bold enough and do that?
I sung the daddy song.
Do the impression.
Okay. Yeah, baby. I think Vienna does a better one. Do you want to try Vienna?
I guess.
Okay. Oh, hold on. Yeah, baby. Ah! See?
Oh my
Pretty
god.
good.
Okay, that's not bad. That's not bad. All right. So, with the Blair Witch Project, guys, this movie was famous for its extremely low budget and its phenomenal box office success. The movie had a budget of approximately 60,000, though some sources have cited slightly higher figures up to 200,000 after post-production costs were factored in, but nonetheless, that's still a pretty low budget. At the box office, the Blair Witch Project did gross over 248 million worldwide. This made it one of the most profitable movies in terms of return of investment, helping spark the trend of low-budget horror films and popularizing that found footage style filmmaking. Yeah, it revolutionized it. It was a game changer. We've got Paranormal Activities. We've got all those movies, Grave Encounters. It created essentially a whole offshoot genre. I know Cannibal Holocaust did it early on, but this one really set the tone where they were cranking them out.
Do you think this could be redone?
They're going to sure try. And they actually did in 2016. And then they have sequels already. And they are terrible.
To
And
Blair Witch?
yeah, and they have actual actors in it. And dude, I don't know what it is, but actors can't act real. Like, it's impossible for them. They act weird. Have you watched any of the sequels?
No.
Oh man, you're not missing out. I don't think we'll cover it, guys. Well, we might because they are awful, in my opinion. I don't know. There might be some people that like it, but hey, good for you. It's just not me.
Just not Richards.
So yeah, I don't know if they can. I'm curious to see. We're definitely gonna watch it. I know it. That the new one coming out, the Blair Witch Project, the remake that they're currently making.
They're making one?
Yeah. So the Blair Witch Project was groundbreaking film, particularly how it was made, especially marketed, and its subsequent impact on the film industry. So the concept and direction, the film was directed by Daniel Myrick and Eduardo Sanchez. The concept was to create a pseudo-documentary horror film that seemed like a real found footage. The directors were inspired by documentaries and the style of pseudo-realism, which I think is pretty cool. I mean, it's a hell of a concept, and kudos for these guys. I heard also they got an idea of this from their own experience a few years ago. Yeah, I don't know the details particularly, but like they pretty much redid the story that they had a couple years prior.
Okay. For casting, so like you mentioned already, at the time the three main characters were not main characters. They were not well known.
They weren't main actors. They weren't even part of the union.
That's interesting. So they casted Heather Donahue, Michael Williams, and Joshua Leonard, and they were selected based on improvisation skills and ability to stay in character for extended periods of time. They did use their real names in the film, blurring between the lines between fiction and reality.
Yeah, which I think was super helpful. They also, didn't we hear that they put an ad out? We read that they put an ad out in the paper.
Yeah, random. Some of the characters that they found, they just went and posted an ad in a university, like a flyer. They just stapled it at a school. And some of them, they were just on newspapers, and they had a good turnaround.
What was it? Yeah, it was like 1,000 people.
Yeah, that showed
answered
up.
that. Yeah, answered that newspaper deal, which was cool. And I didn't know that it was originally going to be three guys, and Heather
She
pretty much blew it out of the water.
Yeah, so they kept her. She answered one question that they really liked, and they ended up keeping her instead of having three guys.
Yeah, and I think that was a game changer. Had it been three guys, I think it would have been good, but I think the dynamic between all three of these people was perfect. I couldn't imagine it in a different universe where there's different characters. Like these guys did play this phenomenally well.
Yeah. So the other thing, I found a lot of things that were really, really interesting researching this that
Yeah.
I didn't know at the time. Like the advertisement for it was great, right? It got everyone's attention and people interested in wanting to go watch it. But the amount of work that they actually put in just the creativity of these directors, like they had an idea and they put this plan in motion and they rolled with it and it worked out for their benefit.
They had the forethought too of long-term marketing because they made this. What they say they made it in like 1997.
Yes,
And
like 2 years before.
2 years, but they had a plan where they put it online and they really did kind of like Cannibal Holocaust where the people were gone. Like they actually thought they were killed and that this was a real documentary. They pulled it off and that was an amazing feat. And they really did it in the turn of the century where like internet was now booming and you had AOL, you had all that. They created the website and that website was pretty much the original viral. It went viral. Like that was probably the first ever thing to go viral.
We were listening to another podcast earlier when we were doing some of our research for the movie, the Hello Sydney podcast. So shout out to her. She did a really good job on this movie in particular.
She kicks ass.
She did. So yeah, so she was giving some good information on her podcast that led us to more going down the rabbit hole and looking more into these things and seeing if they were true for the movie. One of the things, as Rich already mentioned, I think this movie was the first one that was advertised on the internet.
Yeah, they really pushed it. Like the website had pretty much childhood pictures, missing signs.
Posters.
Like, have you seen them? Missing since this footage was found. It was pretty cool, and they really did have everybody, not everybody, but they had a lot of people like thinking, whoa.
I think it's original and it holds even till this day because I feel like a lot of movies you get trailers. But as far as I feel like this was really creative marketing again, like I said, just because they created this website, made it look more realistic, leading into that to get into people's minds and scaring you when you went in and watched the movie.
Word of mouth. We talked about this on the Scream episode. Word of mouth really made that take off. It made this one take off as well because when people were initially seeing this, it freaked them out, which is pretty cool. Vienna will cover some reviews here later, which are pretty entertaining.
As far as the script was concerned, so instead of a traditional script where everybody had lines and everybody, their character, the directors provided outlines to the actors for the plot on individual scenes, but most of it, we found that it was improvised, which again just contributed to their more of an authentic and real reaction from the actors as they were going through and they were running into different scenarios throughout the movie. And then another thing was the directors communicated via notes to locations, where to go to next, kind of, give them a little bit of insight. What was the next scene that was happening to guide them? I guess there was some sort of agreement that the directors and the actors were not going to be in direct communication.
Right.
So it was very minimal. So while the actors were sleeping at night, they were out for 8 days filming?
Yeah, 8 days.
That's a lot.
Which this movie, is it 4 nights or 4 days, 4 nights that they're out there?
Yeah. So yeah, they're out there for 8 nights in total.
Yeah,
filming.
for shooting, but the actual movie itself is 4 nights.
About 4 nights, yeah, it's what I counted. So yeah, when they were sleeping, the directors and film crew would come out, leave them a bin with food, and leave them notes and
so fun
specific
facts.
ones.
So fun facts about that, like the food, they were making the portions smaller and smaller each day, and really honing in on these people's their emotions, yeah, their psyche, where they're breaking them down and it's authentic, which I don't condone that. I don't think, nowadays you can get away with that,
Yeah.
but it was so effective. We were getting natural emotion out of this movie. That's like one of the cool things about this, that you do see it, and that's how believable this is getting. One, they're not actors, so they're not acting like
It's the real reaction
right,
to a
right.
lot of it. Some of them they kind of knew.
Yeah.
The directors will tell, they would leave specific instructions for specific people at times. So only one of them would be in, but not the whole picture. They would only say,
No.
you're going to say this line, or this is going to happen. You're going to do this
Right.
tomorrow.
Right. And it was crazy. They were pretty much fucking with them, freaking them out at night. They had no idea. Like, and we'll get into it in the scenes, but like the children screaming, when Josh is screaming out there, different things pretty much were. The missing map was a huge one. They were not expecting this stuff, and we were getting true reactions of it, which was kind of cool.
Yeah. And then the shooting of the movie itself, the actors also did a majority of the shooting. It looks like we read that only a few scenes that like the actual film crew was there.
The initial scenes of the movie, they were actually shooting it, but then the 3 actors did the rest of the movie pretty much. And they shot this also. The filming location was Seneca Creek State Park in Maryland, which is cool. I don't know. I would love to go there. Didn't they have a huge issue with hunting season?
Oh, after the movie was out, a lot of people were trying to come out and recreate their own.
Not even recreate. They were trying to like really look at the Blair Witch like story.
Coming up with cameras, and it was ruining actual hunting season for real hunters because there were so many people out in the woods. It was scaring away the animals.
Yeah, which is crazy. Could you imagine that?
Oh, they would have been so irritated.
Oh my
the locals.
God. That's how, like, I'm trying to think of today's standards on that. That's like today's Pokemon Go. Like, you know what I mean? Out in the wilderness, you got your homeless kind of looking around there, the deer. You got the Pokemon Go. You're trying to catch your Pokemon, and then you
just in the middle.
You just see the unhoused like scurry off. Sorry, it was a terrible joke. But yeah, no, post-production, the raw footage was edited down from about 20 hours to create the final 82 minutes of the film. The editing was crucial in maintaining the tension and pacing of the story. That's where the directors earn their money. They really did a great job. I give them, like, found footage might not be my thing, but this movie was beautifully shot, like, for what it is. And then also, yeah, the post-production was absolutely perfect.
Yeah,
on that.
When you have so many hours of real reactions, how do you decide what you're keeping in, what you're going to lose, and if it's going to have the same effect on the movie as a whole?
I don't think I could. I don't think I could make it that good. Also,
I have a hard time deleting pictures sometimes.
I just wouldn't know. Like, it was just good. It was well crafted, and they did a great job with the tension and the pacing of this movie. It was boom, boom, boom. It was happening one after another, like the scenes. So everything mainly happens at night, right? But during the day, even like you get their vulnerability, you get them unraveling. And it's almost believable. Even now when I watch it, I'm like, holy shit, man, is this guy really freaking out right here?
Yeah.
But yeah, so we covered the cast a little bit, but here's the directors. Daniel Myrick, his background, he attended the University of Central Florida for film, where he met Eduardo Sanchez, the other director, and they both developed an interest in experimental filmmaking. Their filmography, not much, but obviously it's the Blair Witch Project. Notable works: The Objective in 2008, Skyman in 2020. Eduardo Sanchez, his notable stuff include Altered in 2006 and Lovely Molly 2011. And then he also ventured into television, directing episodes of popular horror series Supernatural. I never got into, but
I watched, how many seasons are there out? Like 20? I think I watched like half of it.
Oh, you watch Supernatural? Okay.
Mm. You look so disappointed.
It's so cringy. I do like this other one that he had some directing in, From Dusk Till Dawn, the TV show. It has Fez in it.
I don't think I went to that one.
Oh, dude, it's pretty good. He also did Exist in 2014, a film about Bigfoot, and then I didn't realize this, he was part of VHS 2 in 2013, which is on Shudder. If you haven't seen it, it's pretty interesting. I wouldn't say it's like great by any means, but it's pretty good. It's entertaining. Both directors are noted for their innovative approach to storytelling and filmmaking, particularly in the horror genre, often using minimalistic techniques and psychological elements to enhance the suspense and fear within their films, which I would have to agree with.
I do too. The cast we already kind of mentioned. 3 main characters, really effective for the movie of what it was. Heather Donahue, like we mentioned, plays a version of herself. She's the project's leader and main filmmaker. And we also have Michael Williams, one of Heather's friends, who accompanies them into the woods.
Are they friends? No, I think they just meet him in the movie because she's like, oh, you must be Mike, when they pick him up.
Yeah. And then Joshua Leonard, so he's the friend. Another crew member on the documentary project.
Yeah, so yeah, with Mike, was he the sound guy? He must have been.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Josh was the camera,
Mm-hmm.
and then Heather obviously was the director and
another camera person.
And the host, pretty much, the documentary.
Yeah. She filmed a ton, too.
Yeah. Interesting story about these guys. In the film itself, Josh and Heather had, and I guess it was authentic, they were mad at each other. Obviously tensions did rise. They were out in the woods with barely anything for 8 days. They kind of fought with each other to the point where we'll get into it in the scenes, but where he disappears, it should have been Mike.
Yeah, it's interesting because in the movie, at first initially, Heather and Joshua are the ones who get along better, and Mike is kind of the one pushing back and just, getting frustrated. And then
naturally thinking he is going to be the guy, like you feel like, oh, this guy's going off his rocker the whole way through. But then because you can kind of see it in the film where it's kind of unraveling and they're kind of getting each other, they change the pace because Mike starts getting it back. Like he's starting to get his wits about him back.
Trying to be more understanding and trying to be reasonable.
An ebb and flow, which I don't think was initially the intention. He was just supposed to kind of fly off the rocker, but it played into the movie really well that it happened this way.
You see a little.
Wouldn't you agree on that though? Like, had it not played out that way, I don't think it would have been as effective.
No, yeah, because you start seeing him as being the
reasonable one.
Well, initially he's the more snappy, has more of a temper. He's frustrated, and then
you see him break.
Changes.
You see him breaking down, like all of them breaking down, and you kind of like at this point at the end, they're just all tired and beat down.
Yeah, and he comes back and ends up being more of a supportive role and trying to just, let's get out of here. And yeah, you can see a little bit of the dynamic between Heather and Josh. But yeah, we'll get a little bit more into it.
Yeah. Do you wanna go over the plot?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Oh, go ahead. You do it.
So the overview, the film is presented as a found footage in the woods. It follows these 3 film students who go into Black Hill Forest in Maryland to create a documentary about the mythical Blair Witch. So the beginning of the movie, the students go in, they have a project. Like you mentioned, Heather's going to be the director of the project. And then they hike based on mythical legends of this Blair Witch. So they try to go and figure out. There's a lot. It seems like there was a couple different stories.
Yeah,
that revolved around.
And keep in mind, the cast did not. Heather, Mike, and Josh did not know that these myths and stories were not real. This was all created by the director, and sent out to these, they had planted actors within the town, and they planted these stories, and they all were a little different, but they ended up all tying together at the end of the movie, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, so they go in following this witch, doing a documentary, following the stories that the townspeople know about.
Yeah, is it real or is it fake? Yeah, I think it's one of those to determine.
They go on a hike.
Well, so yeah, so basically the plot is they're doing a documentary, and they get lost in the woods, and they're trying to find their way out. It's a survival movie at that moment. Yeah. So that does open up the opening scene, the introduction. The film opens up with text stating that the footage was found a year after the filmmakers disappeared in the woods while shooting a documentary about the Blair Witch. We see initial footage of Heather, Mike, and Josh. They're preparing for their trip. But initially you see Heather, and it shows her with the camera, and she's at her house, it looks like, and she's all excited.
And she's like, "This is my house." And then Josh comes to meet her. And he asks, what time are we picking up Mike? And she says 8:30. So they're on a schedule. They need to get there. It seems to me, I can't remember if they made it clear if it took place over a weekend.
Yeah, it was supposed to be on a weekend because they do mention having to get back to work. They had to get this equipment back.
Yeah.
In time.
Yeah, so they're just kind of, showing a little bit of her personal life, her apartment before they head out.
And then you see Mike in his, I think it's either a Plymouth or a Pontiac.
Oh, his little car. Josh's car. Josh is the one driving.
Yeah. You see him, you see the camera they're going to use. And then when they pick up Mike, he lives in a big house. Obviously, his parents have some money. Well, Mikey's got some money there. He says bye to mom, and off they go. They're on their ride.
I'll see you later.
Yeah.
Sad words.
And then, yeah, the final words. And then, so then they start going into Burkittville.
Yeah, so they go in, and then right off the bat, they start doing some interviews with some of the local people.
Yeah, and this is where we were talking about the directors planted some of these actors, which, again, these are the people who answered the ads to come and participate in this film, which is cool. They are not real actors.
Yeah, and then here they do a little bit where they go back and forth between their filming at the cemetery, and then they come back and showing interviews with different characters.
Yeah.
That pitch into the story of the Blair Witch. Yeah,
because before that, they show camaraderie. They get their grocery shopping, they're messing around, getting all their stuff. And that's where they get their first interview, right? The girl, she's like, "Do you know
the waitress?
Yeah, do you know the Blair Witch story?" And she's like, "Oh, I went to Blair High School."
Yeah, her sister did.
Yeah, her sister went to Blair High School.
And then, again, it does a little bit back and forth between, they're at the cemetery, and she's trying to set the stage, and she's like, "Oh, back in 1940s, like a lot of young kids passed away."
Was it the 1940s or like the 1840s or something like that?
1940s.
Oh, was it? Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because you said, what did you say?
It was like polio or something.
Yeah. A lot of
those goddamn anti-vaxxers, man.
A lot of kids. A lot of kids passed away, and for some reason,
I don't know if polio, by the way, was 1940. Let's look that up real quick.
But the people in the town don't talk about it. Like, nobody really knows why so many kids passed away around that time. And then it shows them again at the grocery store, and they start interviewing.
I was close. It was in the 1950s.
Oh, 1950s? You were off by 10 years. Good job.
Polio, baby.
And then is it this older gentleman that they come across, and then they start talking to him?
Oh, and he talks about a guy who lived in the woods that built a house, had a project.
He was like a hermit?
Yeah, he was a hermit that lived out there, and he came into town. He's like, "Oh, my project's finally done." And they're like, "What?" And then they go up there, and apparently the guy goes on to say he was abducting kids.
Yeah.
And murdering them, but
They found 7 dead kids in his house or wherever he was, hunkered down in the woods.
And what was it? What was he doing with them? Like, obviously, he kills them, tortured them.
So he came into town, abducted some kids, and he was taking them 2 at a time into the
Mm-hmm.
basement, I think is where this took place.
Mm-hmm.
And so he would put these kids up against the corner, facing the wall, and he would grab one of them, bring him to the center, shoot him. But he would leave one of them alive so that way they could hear what was happening, and then he would go grab the other kid and just kill them one by one.
But what was he doing with the bodies afterwards? Because he put it on display or something, and that's when the people showed up.
I don't remember that he put them on display. I know she talked about.
Well, I know they did something because the cops come out there and he's like, "Oh, my project's done," and it was something bad, horrific happened.
Yeah, and then so ever since they just kind of believe that the woods are haunted, just like stuff
Yeah,
apparent seems to happen out there.
So he was a paid actor. The next person they interviewed was not a paid actor. The woman with the child.
She did a really good job.
Oh, dude, she was awesome.
Yeah, because I guess the actors, so Josh, Mike, and Heather, they were just told go and interview people. And then this lady, she just happened to be out in the street and they grab her. But she did really good job in improvising. And she fed into the story that they were already kind of.
Well, so that's where it kind of differs. The story differs where the witch, she kind of has her own thing. There's a witch out there. Her kid's getting freaked out. She's like, no, don't say that.
Yeah,
and she's like, oh, it's not real. And then she's like, it's real.
Yeah, and she said that she heard a story that she had also heard about the Blair Witch from a documentary.
Yeah, on like Discovery Channel or something like that.
And then that she had heard about 2 men that went out hunting and they disappeared. But again, just fitting into that, if you go into the woods, you kind of disappear.
Yeah, and she's like, I don't go out there. It's haunted.
Yeah. And then, again, just more stories. There's they interview this other younger guy that has a hat. He also talks about the same guy that was taking kids, abducting them.
Well, yeah, and then another guy, he's like, do you believe in ghosts? No. Are you religious? Yep. But they later on, are you talking about the guy at the water fishing?
No, not yet.
I'm trying to remember.
He was in there very briefly. This is other, maybe in his 20s.
Oh, yeah, a younger guy, because he adds to it, the witches and then the children being abducted. He's like, my grandma told me this story to scare us, yada, yada, yada. But yeah, then they go into the woods, right? No, they go back to the hotel.
Well, before they go back to the hotel, they suggested that they go and talk to this character, Mary Brown.
Mary Brown, this old kook.
And they tell her, they tell them, they're like, go talk to her. She knows a little more she has more information. Something happened to her is what they said.
Funny story about her. She's a paid actor. For this movie, they got her, and she was a little bit crazy. Wasn't she? Isn't that what they were saying?
In real life?
Yeah, wasn't she a little crazy? Like, she wanted to be in the movie. They ended up, like, doing it. Because she was part of the art part of it.
Okay.
And then they ended up putting her in the movie, and she's the one that explains the fur, the hair all over the body. She completely improvised that.
Yeah, and she tells this story, like, she herself had an encounter. She went with her dad when she was young fishing, and that's where she tells a story that she felt something touching her, and it was a woman. And yeah, she goes into, had hair covering everywhere.
Yeah, there's fur, and then she opened her, like, the dress, and there's fur all over the body. Like, it was just a furry thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then after that, they're like, "Oh, she's crazy. That's nuts." Which, who wouldn't? I think I would too. I'm like, man, that's gonna be good on film, but man, that old lady is crazy.
Yeah.
But so yeah, and then this is where then they go back to the hotel. They're celebrating. They got a lot of work done for the film, having their drinks. This is their last kind of like happiness, true happiness, stress-free moment where you kind of see them let loose.
Yeah, they take a couple shots.
Yeah. Those classic, what were they drinking? Was it bourbon?
I think
or
so.
scotch, something. She's like, oh, it's terrible, which I have to agree. That is horrible. But kudos to her and the face she makes. Her upper lip like quivers, and it's like the ugliest thing I've ever seen in my life. But we've all had that look because as soon as she did it, I did it too. I'm like, ooh, I'm remembering the smell of that booze, man. It
I
makes
feel
my
like
stomach hurt.
I make a worse face anytime there's any type of shots involved, and you know I don't like taking straight liquor. It makes
You're
me sick.
responsible.
It makes me sick.
I
I think the
know.
last time I had a shot was tequila for my dad's birthday, and I thought I was gonna die. My insides were on fire.
It's hilarious. Yeah. So, yeah. And then, so in the morning, they're packing up. They're getting ready to go. They drive out to the woods. And because they heard that it was what was Coffin.
Coffin Rock.
Yeah, Coffin Rock, the story. And they end up walking down. They ditch the car, and you see that famous scene of them walking away from it. They come upon two guys fishing. And again, they're feeding the story. They're paid actors. They don't know this though, but they're feeding into the story. And one of the guys, it's bullshit. This is all garbage. But the other guy's playing into it really hard. He's like, yep, I've seen it. I've seen that. I've seen something.
Yeah, and then he tells them a story.
Yeah, like a ghost was coming out, like a misty kind of thing.
Misty thing, and then there was also someone else that had gone missing for like 2 days.
Oh, they talk about the story. A girl went missing in 1800s, 1850 or something like that.
Yeah, and then she just appears at her like house or her grandma's house 2 days later, and she's talking about a woman floating in the woods.
Yeah, which is kind of trippy, but it's a good story, and they're pretty effective at it.
Yeah, and then yeah, I had no idea. Like with them, with the three actors, you know, the main actors, the directors told them that it was. They didn't tell them that the Blair Witch was fake. They were so that kind of set them up a little
Completely
bit.
made up everything about the Blair Witch and the myth, the legend of it, which is brilliant. And then they got these people perfectly execute it.
Feeding into it. Yeah, they thought they really were going to go in there. Well, they weren't quite sure what they were filming. They were just following day by day instructions, it seems like. And then they, for real, thought that they were, that there was some real story about some Blair Witch out there.
So they end up walking to trying to find Coffin Rock, which, you know, they're wandering through. Do they find rocks at this point? No, not at this point. But they do get to Coffin Rock, right?
Yeah, they do, which
where its bodies were lined. They were talking about bodies lining the rock or the cave. Yeah. And then because someone found it, they went to go get help. And then when they went back, the bodies were gone, but it still had the stench of
death
in there, which is kind of a cool kind of story.
If I was the person that found them, because they were pretty, I guess it was men, they were adults that this one person found. They were bound, feet to hands, like connected. Their insides were cut out.
It was some real human centipede type shit, guys.
Kind of, yeah. And then they had a carving on their face, but it was like symbols, so that person couldn't tell.
Yeah, some real witchcraft, some bruja shit. I have
seen that. I would have gone down and told someone, but I would have not come back with the crew and be like, yeah, it was right here. I would have been like, nope, never going back into the woods again.
You gotta show them where it's at, though.
No, man, I'll give you a map and then you can go find it yourself.
I would with a group of people. I'd go check it out again.
You would?
Hell yeah, dude. You're living in the middle of nowhere. You wouldn't? Not shit going on, man.
Especially, no, not when you have all those other stories going on. I think they would have freaked me out a little bit.
Really? I'm not as sensitive.
I know.
I gotta see it to believe it. Guys, if ghosts are real, I need to see it. I want to see one. Believe me, I want to be a believer.
Oh my gosh. I know people, Richard.
So, dude, okay. Let's pause for a minute. Let's open up a tab here. Give us one more ghost story. You know you have a ghost story. Yeah.
I feel like my ghost stories all took place when I was younger.
I know. Let's hear one.
When I was like more into the whole religious thing.
Mm-hmm. Whoa. Okay.
I'm trying to think. Gosh. I knew this lady. She was my godmother back in the
Mhm.
day. I haven't talked to her in lots and lots of years.
Okay.
This was like around when I was 9 to 11, around that time frame is when she was kind of around in my life, maybe 8 to 11. But anyways, so
Okay, so
this
we
lady,
established 97, 98, 99, 2000.
yeah, so while the Blair Witch was happening, I was having my own Blair Witch. No, this lady, she was one of the, she could, she was a psychic. She would do the tarot cards. You would go to her and she would tell you your future. She freaked my mom out. She told my mom, she read her palm and told her that she was not going to make it past like 40. So when my mom was getting close to
Dude,
her
your mom?
40, she was freaked out. She's like, that lady said I was going to die.
I can imagine. Poor Maria.
And then she's still alive. No, but yeah, she was one of the ladies that was involved in going out and with the treasure hunting, because she knew of
Oh,
where
your
some of
dad's
these
famous treasure hunts.
places were. Yeah,
Okay.
so she would go with them because she was like sensitive to the spirits and everything. And she knew of like haunted places and places where treasures were buried magically. She knew
Okay.
all this information. But
Whoa, and because she was psychic.
one of their
Dude.
trips, they came back and she was possessed by something.
Sorry to cut you off. There's just so many questions I got about this story. Her being your grandmother was the reason why
godmother.
your godmother. The reason being, was it because she was psychic?
No, she was just really nice.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she was nice.
And did she ever find treasure?
No. You know what she
Dang.
did find? Others people's things. She was a scammer.
Oh, shit. Damn. Godmother's got some tricks.
Yeah, no, but out of one of their treasure hunting, she did come back. I was in there. Her roommate said that she came back. Some spirit followed them from the treasure hunting, and she was possessed for like a whole 24 hours.
What?
Screaming, doing voices, pulling her hair.
Dude, do we have any footage of this?
No.
Dang. Damn, dude, that would have been awesome.
Yeah, but she freaked her.
I want to hear that story.
Out.
What the hell, man? You're leading on with treasure hunts. I want to hear the fucking exorcism of, what's her name?
Magdalena.
Yeah, exorcism.
Malena, shout out if you're in Colima or Tonila still scamming people. Leave them alone.
Leave them alone. Although it's vacation place now, so go ahead.
Vacation. She also told me a story of how to hunt for fairies.
Whoa.
Yeah. She gave me, I don't know. I was a kid. I was like, ooh, tell me more. And she went into this she had a good imagination. I'll give her that.
Damn, dude, we need to get her on the pod.
She gave me some story of where you could find them, what to do. You would catch one, and if you caught one, and if you tamed it, it would do whatever you wanted. It would give you treasures. It was like your genie in a freaking cage.
Dang, and you're like, all I want to do is get to America.
No.
The dream came true.
I was kidnapped to America. I was like, no, let me go.
I know.
Like
that sucks. Even I feel bad. You had a mango tree in your front yard? Man.
And guava tree in our front yard.
And what was your bird's name?
She didn't have a name. We just call her Guaca. I had a macaw bird.
Oh, man, that was on her shoulder, guys. She would just chill on her shoulder, and she would feed her like mangoes and cheese and stuff.
Yeah, she would scare my grandma. She picked on people.
I love it.
She never bit anyone, but she knew people were scared of her, so she would run towards them with her wings spread out, dragging her beak on the ground.
Oh my god,
just yelling at
dude.
them.
Babe, can that be our next pet? Can we get a bird?
Macaw? I don't know.
Oh shit, dude, we need to. That'd be fun.
She was pretty free down there. She just lived outside.
Yeah.
On the tree eating guavas, and then she would go to her next door neighbor was one of my dad's aunts. She had a mango tree, and she would just fly over there and just eat guavas and mangoes all day.
Fuck, man, that is the life. I'm jealous. Okay, I digress. Let's close that tab. I just love hearing the stories of Mexico, Colima. So, okay, they're at Coffin Rock. And so they get their filming done. They shoot their deal. What do they do after this?
It goes into the first night.
Oh, yeah, they're winding down. They find a camp spot. Nothing happens really at the night, really, that we see or hear.
No.
Because we really don't see anything nighttime anyways, but it's really kind of mild at this point.
Yeah.
But when they wake up, that's when they're like, yeah, it was weird. We heard some cackling, and
Was it Mike or Josh? It was one of the
it was
guys.
kind of both of them. Or no, it was Josh because Mike was sound asleep, and then Heather's like, oh, I sleep like a rock.
Yeah, and they were saying there was a little bit of noises, and then maybe it was an owl.
Yeah. Yeah, an owl. They're just kind of like talking it away, like, ah, wasn't anything in particular. So they're not thinking much.
Yeah, and then at one point, Heather does admit that, the day before they were slightly lost just for a little bit.
Oh, we start seeing it. So they now are they on their way back home at this point?
No, I think they're still hiking towards a cemetery. There's like,
Oh, that's right.
their target is a cemetery in the middle of the woods.
Yeah, and they eventually do find it. And that's where the rocks and stuff, right, are piled.
No, I don't think so.
Like that was like the little area where the rocks and the sticks and stuff.
They just appear around their campground down the road.
Well, they run into some sort of site.
It's a structure at the end.
No, what I'm saying is they run into a site, like a little area where there are a bunch of that. They run into two of them because they run into the piles and they actually knock rocks over, and that was the cemetery area they were talking about. Because they're satisfied and they're like, man, let's just stop filming for a minute. It kind of freaked them out. They knock over the rocks. She says sorry, picks it back up.
Yeah. Yeah, and then, they're that's where you start seeing a little bit back and forth. Because it seems like they're hiking far into the woods.
They're starting to crack a little bit. Mike's getting a little cranky. He's like, all right, it's time to head back.
He's saying it's a long hike towards the cemetery. Because at times I think they're on trails, and then sometimes they're just off.
So he's
hiking.
like, that's right. He's like, oh man, do you know where we're going? Like, you'd think we'd be on a trail. And she's like, oh, this is a shortcut. Acting like a know-it-all. We all know these people where they don't know jack shit, but they want to say they do. I've been guilty of doing this myself, but they go up this trail, and it's not even a trail, and she says it's a shortcut, which they do eventually do make their location, right?
I think eventually they get close to it, or so they think. And then, they're just, again, like you said, just debating over the map, what's the right direction. And, Mike starts getting a little upset because they're frustrated. He's not 100% sure that they know where they are.
Yeah, but
and he's like, why are we still recording everything that we're doing?
He doesn't want that camera in his face. Which, do you blame him on that?
No.
Because I don't blame him at all. I'd be pissed. I'd be like, Heather, get that fucking shit out of my face. God damn it.
If I'm mad, I want to be left alone. Yeah. Give me a minute to breathe, and I have a camera on my face.
Yeah. Exactly.
Getting my angry reactions.
Mm-hmm. I've seen it, guys. You do not
whatever
experience it. So yeah, then at this point, this is night 2, right?
Almost. They do cross the first the
Oh
river.
yeah, because in this movie they end up crossing a couple, like 3, right? 2 or 3.
Yeah. So yeah, they cross over the creek, and then that's where they find the pile of rocks after they cross the first creek. And then I think this is where they start getting ready for the second night.
Yeah.
And is this where they start fussing? Is it the first? No, it's the second night. So they go into the second night.
Mm-hmm.
And then they try to make it a little bit light, and then they compare each other to characters from Gilligan's Island. Characters talking about who's the captain, who's skipper,
the captain, and then Gilligan. But then he's like, whoa, guys, it's not a captain, it's a skipper.
Yeah.
But so later that night, though, they turn the cameras back on, and then we start hearing it louder. At this point, children are screaming, cackling, or laughing. Children are laughing kind of in the background in the distance. Josh, all of them are kind of freaked out, right?
That's the third night.
Well, the third night is where Josh disappears.
I thought that was the fourth night.
Is it? Because if they're gone 4 nights, the fourth night is the finale.
They do have, they run out in the middle of the night at the fourth. night. So in the second night, what I have on my notes here is that there's some noises. They do hear noises,
Mm-hmm.
some snapping and just stuff happening outside.
So maybe they're out there longer
Maybe.
than 4 nights. I thought it was 4 nights, but
And I
because I
think
know it was the night before when Josh runs off, and then the finale is when they hear it. Because they only stay at night one more time when it's just them two. Like they go throughout the day and then they hear it and they're like, "Oh, Josh, we hear it." Remember?
yeah, so I think it's the third night when Josh goes missing.
Yeah. So maybe it's 5 nights. It's supposed to be 5 nights.
But I think on the second night when they hear those noises,
Mm-hmm.
Heather's trying to get Mike to go outside and look with her.
Oh yeah, he's like, "No, man, I'm gonna stay here." She's like, "Mike,
like, no.
I need the sound, man." And he's like, "No, I'm not getting out of there. This shit's crazy."
I wouldn't have.
I would have. I'd be right there with her. I'm like, "We gotta catch this shit, man. This is like paranormal activity on steroids."
Yeah, and then the next night you see a little bit more of that frustration from the nights before.
But what happens afterwards the next day?
Again, they're kind of not talking to each other a lot, and then they start questioning again, like, where are they going? Where are they going?
Well, and they're really amping up. Even Josh starts to come in like, "Heather, come on, man. Do you really know where you're going? Like, let me see the map." They're all taking turns. Mike, obviously, he says, "I don't know. This is all Greek to me." But Josh and Heather trying to figure that out. And then Mike's like, "You know what? I'm going to trust you. I'm going to trust that you know what you're looking at on the map and you know where we are." And then, but he's like, "I kind of don't though."
Yeah.
Yeah. But he's like, "I'm going to have to trust you."
Yeah, and then so it seems like during the day they do a lot of just walking around.
Well, yeah, they're trying to get out of there.
In circles, because yeah, they kind of start giving up, and they're at that point it's kind of let's go home.
And at this point, this is where the tension is. We're like, "Dude, we got to get this camera turned in. I got to go to work tomorrow.
Yeah.
We gotta get back, man." So really, the tension they start to unravel. Mike's screaming. He's freaking out. They're running low on cigarettes. Yeah. And then, so yeah, they're wandering around. And then at this night, when it does become night, this is where they really do hear the children laughing and the cackling all around. It's kind of close. Totally not expected either. Like every time at night, they weren't expecting this stuff and it kept getting closer. And then they were shaking the tent.
Which for the kids' noises, we found that they recorded real noises.
Yeah,
like
their neighbors' kids. Yeah,
went out and played them for them at night. That's fucked up.
Yeah, and then the tent was shaking, and that's when you get authentic. They run out of the tent, and they run, and they're scared, and they're like hunkered down somewhere.
Yeah,
until daylight. And then they get back to the thing, and that's where Josh's stuff's missing. Everybody else's stuff's there, but Josh's stuff's missing. And then the camera is in some kind of goo, like Nickelodeon gack or something.
Yeah, there's slime on some of Josh's stuff.
Yeah, ectoplasm.
And they start putting, collecting
That reminds
stuff.
me of South Park. Do you guys remember seeing that? It's like paranormal, and then Stan's on a computer. He's like, "Oh man, ectoplasm all over me. Did you see that ghost come through?" I haven't seen the episode forever, but
I think I know which one you're talking about.
Pretty much implying he was jerking off. There's ectoplasm all over it. So yeah, there's stuff, sludge, slime all over the camera. He's like, "Oh, what the hell?"
And then they realized, kind of fast forward a little bit, and then they realized that the map is missing.
Yeah, they're like, "Dude, where's the map, Heather? Where's the map?" She's like, "It was in my pocket, man. You guys had to have taken it." Okay. And they're like, "No, you're fucking crazy. You lost this fucking map, dude. That was so irresponsible of you."
Yeah, and she's like, maybe we got lost the day before when, during all of their hiking that they did. And then you see that Josh is trying to keep his calm at this point still.
And they're like, "Let's just keep heading south. South's the way we've been walking. We're going to keep going that way."
And then one thing that Mike says, is, I think it was Mike who said, if we don't come back, like, people will notice. And I think Heather mentions it too.
Or Josh does, because he's like, "My girlfriend would know. My job will know.
Yeah, people will notice.
Our parents are going to notice." And Heather kind of keeps it light too, where she's like, "Hey, this is America. It's hard to get lost, and it's hard to stay lost. we're eventually going to find civilization, or it's going to find us, pretty much.
Yeah, and then at this point, again, and from there, they're trying to scramble and figure out what to do.
I think everybody's kind of been in that situation before, kind of panicked, uncontrolled situation, maybe not lost,
Yeah.
but kind of that fear building up. I don't know about you, but I get serious stomach cramps. I'm like, ooh, I'm that guy who would have to poop all the time.
I was gonna ask, does that make you
I'm
poop?
like, yep, every 10 minutes. I'm like, guys, I got to go behind the tree.
You guys figure out where we are.
Uh-huh.
But I think part of it, yeah, with them being kind of weird, tired, hungry, like we saw as the
Exhausted,
days
yeah.
are going by, they're getting less and less food from the actual movie crew.
And they're getting less patient, man.
Yeah, and then they're just kind of laughing. Their shoes got wet.
Well,
So they're trying
no,
to.
so that's when, yeah, because then they get a little wet, they're laughing, keeping it lighthearted. Well, when they're laughing at that point, that's when Mike starts laughing like a weird laugh.
Uncontrollably.
Yeah, and then he's like, hey, man, I kicked that map into the water. And then just starts laughing. They're like, dude, are you serious? He's like, fucking A.
He's like, it was useless. We didn't know where we were going
Yeah,
with the map.
The story behind that, what was it? The directors had left him a note, hey, destroy that map. Or accidentally destroy it or whatever, and he did kick it in the water, and they didn't see it. And they were supposed to intentionally see it, and they didn't see it. But he was brilliant and kept it to himself until this moment, man.
He thought, it was mentioned that he thought that Josh and Heather did see him kick it, but when he started seeing their reaction, he just didn't say anything.
Yeah, because he didn't get anything out of them. Like, he was like, oh shit, like when they're freaking out on the map. So he kept it for that moment. And that's when they really do. I think they truthfully are like, fuck, we have had limited interaction with the directors. I don't know where we're at. This shit's fucking wild. And now we don't have a map. You can honestly see their emotions like just going wild.
And because of the limited contact with the director, they really were like relying on this map essentially to kind of help them where they were going. Mm-hmm. So again, another real reaction. This map is missing. They're freaking lost.
Yeah. But so later in the day, they keep walking. They kind of get back. Josh airs out some shit. He's upset. And so is Mike. But they end up going, and this is where they do find that weird thing. Mike yells out, or Josh, I think it was Mike. He's like, hey, check this shit out, dude. Come here quick. And they're like, what, Mike? And then they go down there. And that's when you see the iconic stick figure.
Yeah.
What is it? It always looks like a stick, like a person to me, the Blair Witch logo.
Stick figure.
But people say it's a cross.
No, I don't think it's a cross. It has legs and arms.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like a stick figure to me, and it does look evil. Like, it looks sinister.
It would be creepy to run into that in the woods.
With rocks everywhere, because she also does mention, and she mentions it earlier, but the rocks remind me, like, that lady in the trailer, Mary
Brown.
She brought up rocks.
Yeah, there's little piles of rocks stacked around. At one point, I think they're, like, outside their tent.
Well, they start putting around the tent and shit, and they're like, whoa, we didn't set this up. Like, there's no way we put our tent right in the middle of this.
Yeah, and
they walk into this little area where there's stick figures everywhere, little things,
the trees, different sizes.
Yeah, and rock piles
on the trees,
on the trees, but on the trees and on the ground as well. And this is kind of freaking them out. And this is where Mike and Josh are like, Heather, stop fucking filming, man. We got to go. What the fuck are you doing?
And he has a little bit of a breakdown too, because he just straight up starts screaming for help.
Oh, yeah. At that point, Mike's like, fuck, dude, this shit's nuts. Because before they thought it was like rednecks or someone fucking with them out there.
Oh, they thought that someone was... there's a mention that maybe someone is following them into the woods and messing with them.
Yeah, and just fucking with them.
Yeah, but they're like, who, besides their, I think, family, no one else knew that they were going there.
And so Mike's freaking out. He's screaming out for help. So at this point, they keep walking south. Mm-hmm. And then this is the third night, right?
The fourth night.
Yeah. Okay. This is the fourth night. And this is kind of Josh had a breakdown. And you kind of see later, we might have this mixed up, guys, here and there. We're not, we watched it, but it's hard to keep up with it scene for scene. So if it's not exactly beat for beat, I apologize, but we're just trying to remember kind of it from our notes. But so we kind of see Mike too kind of take a change in attitude where he has his ebb and flows. Like he's really erratic and then he gets really calm. And there's a moment where Josh is just at this point is drained. He's done. You can tell he's kind of broken. And Mike's like, hey man, don't film this, Heather. What the fuck? He's crying. Don't film him crying. That's not okay. And she's like, I know. And he's asking for a cigarette. They're like, we don't have any, man. And so then I believe they set up for the night.
Yeah, and then this is where they say, maybe let's not have any fires or lights. Like all the prior nights they've had.
Because it's attracting people. They're thinking it's attracting someone.
Yeah, so they're like, maybe no fires or lights, just...
Because the first night they didn't have anything and nothing happened really.
Yeah, and then this night...
And they're trying to have levity because right before they go to bed, they're talking about food. Like, I wish I had mom's mashed potatoes.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, and they're kind of like, and he's like, I got a cheeseburger in my left pocket. And they're like, man, I would take a cheeseburger right now.
Reminiscing about, things that you take for granted and what you would be craving. What's a dish that you would have missed if you were in their situation? You have limited food. You're out hiking.
Dude.
What would you miss?
There's so many, but man, some of Maria's cooking. Oh my God.
If you had to pick one dish, what would be your last dish?
What was the one we had? What was the one where I was like, oh my God, that's amazing.
Everything you say, it's amazing.
It is. Maria's amazing cook.
What was it?
But I think what was the one where it was like the shell? It was a while back ago. It was toasted, had meat in it.
Oh, quesadillas.
Oh my God.
Richard likes his quesadillas.
So what would be yours?
I would want flautas, chicken flautas. A big plate. Or you know what else? Tacos tuspeños, those chicken tacos that you had when we came back from Montana.
Oh my God. Yeah, dude. Those are amazing. And then sopas.
Flautas. Sopes.
Sopas too. Oh my God. Shout out. They're not a sponsor, but El Sazon.
El Sazon. Vienna. If you were lost in the woods and you wanted one last meal, what would your last meal be?
Sushi.
Sushi?
Dang. That's bougie as fuck, dude.
If it's by the East Coast or West Coast.
But if it's like the middle states, I'm like...
Oh, you want fresh? She wants sushi, but only if it was made.
Yeah, that's rule of thumb right there.
In a place close to the sea, not central.
I mean, okay, I can fuck with that. She
doesn't want to get food poisoning.
Respect. Okay, so now later that night, it's happening. Some more stuff's happening. And this is where this fourth night, can you walk me through it, Angelus?
So the fourth night, fourth night?
Yeah. This is where Josh just appears.
So, they're reminiscing about everything. They go to sleep.
Yeah. What happens?
And then they wake up and then they see that Josh is missing in the morning.
Is it because there's nothing that happens?
No, they just wake up. It's a pretty calm night. And then he's gone in the morning.
Oh, yeah. They're like, where's Josh at? And they run out and they're screaming, Josh. And they're pretty much looking for him throughout the day, but they got to keep heading south. They think he went crazy. He bailed.
Yeah.
And
that would be so scary.
So they're pretty much demoralized. Could you imagine you just lost a third member of your crew and you're like the third person? Now it's just down to two. And like you have to now you're each other's support system where you're fighting and bickering that whole time. Now you're a support system.
Yeah. And this is where when Richard was talking earlier that originally Mike's character, he was supposed to be the one that would go missing at this point in the movie. But because Josh and Heather were bickering so much and bumping heads, I guess one of the nights they were so just upset with each other that the director broke his rule of no contact with the actors, that they came in and got them to settle down and not fight each other. And instead they changed it up, and then they had Josh be the one who goes missing instead of Mike earlier
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, fascinating. And I think this is incredibly effective that it happened this way. But yeah, so they're becoming increasingly frantic about this, about him missing, where they kind of come to the realization they're calming down a little bit, kind of in shock.
Mhm.
Mike ends up finding cigarettes in the bottom of his bag. He gives her one, they share it, and that's where they have a moment where they kind of, they get close, like they embrace each other, like, fuck, I don't know if what we're gonna do. Yeah. And then, so this is where at night, this is where we get that iconic scene of her looking into the camera where you just kind of see a portion of her face. Super effective, where she's like apologizing to everybody's families, Josh's, Mike's, hers, and pretty much like telling them, hey, I'm sorry, I fucked up. This is my fault. This is my documentary. Like, I'm the reason why we got into this mess. Which, yeah, of course, you fucking didn't know where you were going, and you said you knew you were going, man. Get the fuck out of here. It was your fault. I'm pissed at you. But so you get that iconic scene, and then, tears running. It's very authentic. You can tell she's like, fuck, just physically and mentally drained. But then nightfall happens. They go to bed, right? And then this is the last night where they hear Josh screaming, and they're like, holy shit, Josh, where are you? Where are you? And this is where Mike takes off, starts going down there, and then Heather has to keep up with him. And Mike's just frantically getting to where he's hearing the voices.
Yeah, you were screaming. They think it sounds like he's torture screams almost.
Oh, yeah, because before that, we didn't even say this. What freaked her out was they had sticks in the morning.
Oh, yeah.
And she threw it, and she did throw it, like, and it was unintentional, like, it wasn't supposed to happen, but she was so freaked out that she threw the bundle of sticks.
Doing that.
Yeah, and then later the directors had to kind of phone in and say, hey, you got to go check that out. And she walks away and looks in there, and she sees blood, real teeth, and then real pieces of Josh's hair in there. And you can only imagine that she's like, holy shit, what am I looking at here? Like, at some point you got to be like, are these directors really doing this to us? Is this real? Like, you're fucking 8 days in, man. You're fucking freaking out.
Yeah, and her reaction, she starts like hyperventilating when she sees this. Again, she was not expecting it.
No.
She didn't want to touch it. And then they're like, just do it.
And she goes to the creek, wash her hands off. She keeps this away from Mike, though, because I think she knows Mike would freak the fuck out.
Yeah, he's already been having moments where he's kind of losing it.
So fast forward back to where we're at, we hear Josh screaming, being tortured, yelling for help. Well, they go off, taking off in the woods, and they run up upon this house, and then you hear Josh screaming up top at the second level of this house. Mike has intentionally been told to stay ahead and kind of run ahead of Heather, and he's frantically kind of going up, and he's like, Josh, where are you? He goes up there, Heather catches up, they see nothing, but up those stairs, you see little bloody handprints all over the place.
Yeah, that was freaking creepy.
Yeah, I would be creeped out, even though I know it's probably fake and we're filming a movie. I would still be freaked out. I'm like, oh shit, blood everywhere, bloody hands, children's hands. Oh hell no. That's where I'd have another panic poop again.
And cut and wait for Richard's
I'm like,
proof.
you guys, I can't do it. My IBS.
Richard, I don't think that you would be invited to a treasure hunting trip.
Oh man, no. Younger Richard, no. Nowadays, I wouldn't be panicked. So panic pooping doesn't happen.
Oh,
these days.
okay. You would
So
make
I'm
it
good
through.
now.
Yeah. We could always get you some Depends.
Fuck that, man. I can control my bowel
Maybe.
movements. So then we start hearing screaming again, and it's so weird. It was up top, which I don't know how they got this to work. Maybe that's speakers or something.
Yeah.
But then it's downstairs. Mike takes off. He's like, fuck, I'm going to find Josh. He runs downstairs and he goes to the basement, and then he leaves Heather up there. She can't keep up. And so then you see Mike with his camera. The camera drops. Mm-hmm. And now you're left with Heather and her camera and her, you can hear her voice. She's screaming frantically,
Oh, yeah.
almost to the point it's kind of annoying if you ask me, but it is a real panic scream. And she heads downstairs, still crying for Mike. She doesn't know what to do. She sees Mike in the corner, and then boom.
Face in the corner, and it reminds you of the story of those little boys that
Yeah, the old man
little
said
kids, yeah.
that the old hermit guy would kill one and keep the one in the corner and listen to the screams. So, yeah, at the end, this is really effective. She gets hit or something, the camera falls down, and that's the end of the movie.
And
Leaving you thinking, leaving it to your imagination. Now, how do you feel about that ending? Were you satisfied?
I mean,
Initially, try to remember when you first
initially?
watched it.
no, I wanted to know. I mean, yes and no. You know that they're missing. They tell you that at the beginning of the movie. At the same time, like, I wanted to know what happened to them because they leave you with so many bits and pieces for you to just assume and put the whole picture together. But
it was really took a lot of inspiration from Jaws, where you barely see Jaws in the movie, and it's left to your imagination. I really liked it. There was talks where they did screenings for this movie, and people were like, I don't understand it, which I don't know how you would not understand the ending of this movie if you're following it. But granted, you'd be surprised. Some people just don't follow movies. I'm more intent. Like, I got to watch it. I got to know the details, but some people don't. So they had alternate endings, I believe they said, but they didn't, none of them stuck. They stuck with the original, which fucking kudos to them for being like wise to that, because I don't know if I'd have that kind of restraint. I would be kind of hypercritical, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Your notes here, one of the alternate endings. Do you want to touch on them?
Go ahead.
You want me? Okay. So one of the alternative endings that directors had was considered involving a little bit more of an explicit scene. Again, just kind of showing you more of what happened to the actors. And one of it being Josh's body parts being visible. But ultimately they decided against it.
Or seeing a silhouette or a lady in a white dress. I'm happy they did not show the monster, the witch, or whatever it is, because in my head, it's so much worse than it actually would be.
Yeah, just kind of letting, people run with their imagination, make your own assumption of what happened and fill in those blanks.
Was there more endings?
Not that I saw.
Okay. Yeah, I was looking at my notes. I didn't see that. But yeah, I'm glad they didn't stick with that. So that's my question for you is, what do you think the Blair Witch looked like in your head?
In my head, an old lady, crazy hair, and in a dress, long nose, I don't know, long fingernails.
Yeah.
Your stereotypical image of a boy.
I'm leaning towards more of like a human goat-like figure.
A human goat?
More satanic, witchy, like demon.
Okay.
Fucking, I'm thinking that, and it does rip limb for limb, tortures you. I'm going that way, or it naturally in my head. That's what I'm thinking.
Although from the stories of the people that they interviewed earlier on in the movie, I think I would be more scared of the hermit guy who was just taking little boys and killing them rather than the witch.
Yeah. So moving forward, before we move forward with the rest of this, the impact and legacy, we do have a couple questions we got on a poll that I asked earlier today. Let me pull it up here.
Yeah, we got 2 whole answers to this. So thank you guys for taking time and answering.
Yeah, we know it was last minute. Go ahead and what's the first question? And who's it from?
Who is it from? Give me 1 second. I had my note and then my sticky note disappeared. Let's see. So the question was, the post essentially was, ask anything you want of us. Horror movie. Richard said life advice. I don't know how much life advice we can give.
Hey, man.
But the first question that we got was from Alejandro. And his question was, do you watch a happy movie after watching something scary?
I'll let you answer this first.
Me? I think it depends. I think I watch so many scary movies.
You're desensitized?
And kind of desensitized, depending on how much of a shock factor they have on me. Yeah, I think last year, two that stand out were Talk to Me and When Evil Lurks. I did was a little rattle after, and I had to watch something a little bit more lighthearted after.
Yeah, so those are mind fucks. I'm gonna say after a mind fuck, I need a palate cleanser. So I'll throw on some South Park or Rick and Morty, or a Friday the 13th. I don't know, maybe something a little more wholesome, lighthearted. But yeah, no, I think it depends really on my mood and how impactful that movie was. If it totally screwed my head up, I gotta watch something soft.
Yeah.
What's the second question?
Happy thoughts.
Yeah.
The second question came from Lord Pineapple Doodles. So they asked, what was the first horror movie that made you love horror?
Man, the first one, I think I mentioned this in our first episode, but the first one that came to me was Child's Play. Had an impactful moment in my life, huge trauma, but it made me addicted. Yeah, it made me addicted to horror. I like that feeling. But later on in my younger years, it was A Nightmare on Elm Street. Freddy Krueger, that stuff was so fun. I loved it. The kills, the dream sequences were so creative. I loved all of it. Me and my brother would watch it all the time. It was the movies we'd rent every weekend. What about you?
And my movie is The Exorcist 1973.
Ah, shit, man. That's an OG right there.
That was impactful. That was scary. It was good. And I was like, yes, I feel it for me every time I watch it. Now there's some stuff that's funny, but
how'd you feel about the first Omen we recently watched?
I liked it.
I liked it too. That was pretty good. When that pole goes through the guy's head.
Oh, I thought I was like, he got him. And then I was like, oh, it's fine. And then he turns around.
Oh, dude, I love that. I love that trope. No, yeah. So that's cool. If you guys, we have a question out there. What horror movies are your favorites? Please answer it. We are doing a giveaway. So if you do make a comment, please email us at Horror Cinema Obsession with your address and name, and we will send you some stickers. Horror Cinema stickers, they're high quality, they're nice. We like them. So yeah, if you're interested, just leave a comment and then just send an email with your name and address, and we'll be glad to send these stickers out. We got an abundance of them.
Yeah, just a little thank you for supporting us.
Yeah. So the impact of this movie. This has a huge impact. It has a huge thumbprint on the horror genre. And I think its legacy it transcends. It just continues on because this is the first of its kind, really done really well. How do you feel about that?
I think it did a really good job. I think, like you mentioned at the start of this episode, that it kind of set the foot forward for other movies.
Yeah. So I think it perhaps is the most significant impact. The Blair Witch Project is the found footage technique was crafted and perfected by them. The style involves presenting the film as if it was discovered footage, usually from a video camera or other recording devices used by characters in the film. This technique it creates a sense of realism and immediacy, making the horror more intimate and frightening. The success of the Blair Witch Project led to a surge in found footage films, like we mentioned before, Paranormal Activity. I actually found footage one that I do like, Cloverfield. Have you ever seen that one?
I watched it. It's not my favorite.
Dude, I like it. So some of the CGI on it's a little but there's a scene where you're in these medical tents, you see the shadow of one of the friends, and the thing just she explodes. I love that in the scene. We might have to revisit that.
I think the ending is what I was like,
Yeah. And then obviously they set the tone, going viral marketing. They were ahead of their time on that one.
Yeah, like we mentioned, first internet.
So I think it has its pros and cons. I think the pros outweigh the cons, but you had a huge wave of found footage stuff. I think horror genre going into the 2000s, we had a lot of rough years. One, 9/11 happened. We had the school shooting, Columbine. So we had a couple things were violent, and they, at some point, and with the found footage, we had blood being less in the movies, less violence, and we had a little era, and I think this was part of it, making it less scary, less intense. Like, I don't know about you, I don't get me wrong, there's a special place in my heart for the 2000s horror genre, but they're not the greatest movies.
It turned a little bit. I feel like they had a comedy was popping in the 2000s.
Yeah. But again, psychological horror and the visual effects were outstanding for this movie. So the audience response and expectations, this film's ambitious and an unsettling ending left audiences debating and discussing what actually happened to Heather, Mike, and Josh. This ending influenced how future films would be received, with more filmmakers embracing that ambiguity and complex narratives that engage audiences on a deeper level. So that's a pro for me. Like it forced them to kind of develop that a little bit more.
One of the things that we saw in there as well was that Heather's mom was getting sympathy cards.
Oh, because they actually thought she died.
Yeah, they thought she really was missing or dead.
Yeah, and you got to give them credit, innovation, originality. Just, it was great. And then if you weren't around in 1999, the cultural impact of this movie was outstanding. It was in everything. On our Instagram, I showed you, and this is real, the Scooby-Doo Project. They spoofed this on the Cartoon Network. I shit you not, this freaked me out because I used to watch it going to bed, and they'd have that on, and I'm like, oh, fuck. And I'd have to change the channel.
Everywhere.
Scooby-Doo. I was like, dude, this is fucking gnarly. And they would show little bits and pieces of that as commercials, and it would freak me the fuck out.
That's awesome. I didn't know it existed until you showed me.
Yeah, I just remember after watching this movie, I was like, oh shit, that did happen. So yeah, no, I think the impact and legacy is still touched upon. I think the tropes of this movie are still used. And you can get a lot of reference even till this day on movies with how they're filmed, especially the found footage stuff.
Another thing that I thought was really interesting for this movie, there was no makeup or special effects. You know, they were out in the raw as they were.
Yeah, noises. It was more of a
hearing.
Yeah. Sound.
Sound, there you go. Just sound, but I mean, no makeup, no, fake mummies or anything.
No script, by the way.
Yeah, and then we saw that even those figures that they found out in the woods, they were made by the film crew and using twigs and string.
Mm-hmm. So this ending was explained. Apparently the actors associated this with serial killer Ed Gein, which I can kind of see, who also inspired elements of Psycho and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I can see kind of a little bit of everything in those movies kind of played a part in this. So yeah, no, that is Blair Witch Project. Now, this movie, it has pretty high ratings. Did you check the IMDb on this, the Rotten Tomatoes?
They were actually not, it wasn't the greatest ratings that they had out there, but they did do pretty well on IMDb. They have a 6.5 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes, they hold an 86%, and Metacritic, they have an 80%.
So I think I know what the issue is with this, though. Found footage, it's really, you see it once, and it has a great effect the first time. The second, third, fourth time you see it, it loses the luster. You know what's happening. Where the first time you see it, you don't know, and you're guessing, and it totally kind of, that twist can throw you off. But I can see how that could be less effective, and the rating kind of goes down. You kind of feel the same way?
Yeah. I feel like the first time, that's when you have your first real impact, the biggest shock.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I 100% agree. The more you watch it, you know what happens.
That's the problem with found footage, though, and that's kind of why I don't like it, is how do you push the envelope even further? You almost have to with these, because they become predictable. The quality is not there, so you really got to have it click. If it
You need
doesn't
to-
click, it's terrible. One that you haven't watched it, I don't think. Hell House is really fucking good. We got to watch that one. It's effective.
I'm looking forward to it. No, I haven't watched this.
Yeah, so now we're at that time where Vienna, she's going to share some reviews that she found about the movie. But before she shares the reviews, can you hand her the mic?
Oh, hi.
Hello. Sorry guys, we're working with 2 mics right now. Vienna, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm good.
You're being patient?
I'm tired.
You're tired? Man, we're long-winded. I can't help it. So, you watched the movie with us. How'd you feel about it?
I thought it was pretty good. I think the first time I wasn't like fully paying attention. I was
Mhm.
playing games on my phone. But I went and rewatched it after, and I thought their reactions, or I guess the acting, it was really raw. Like the second
Mhm.
time, because I was like, this seems like pretty real. Like I
Mhm.
would get
You're
like why.
invested?
Yeah, I would get why people thought it was real back then.
Yeah, exactly. So, what yourself, before you get into the other ratings, what do you rate it?
Like a 3 out of 5.
3 out of 5, not bad.
Mhm.
Not bad. All right, do you want to share some of the reviews you found?
Yeah, I mostly found funny ones because. know.
That's all we want to hear. Come on, man.
So, someone gave it a 3.5 and said, Blair Witch, where bitch? Blair Witches be tripping.
Oh my god. What was the rating?
3.5
What?
stars.
Oh shit.
And then someone said, I loved it when the Blair Witch said, yo, it's me, the Blair Witch. It's Blair Witching time. 4.5.
That must have been Blair Witch 2.
Yeah, I don't know. Someone else said, Blair Witch Project, true ending. The people in Blair Witch Project. What was that noise? The Blair Witch. Yak, yak, yak. It's me, the Blair Witch. And they gave it a little heart. Someone said it was
What was the rating?
just a heart.
Oh, that was it? They didn't
Yeah.
give it. Oh,
Nothing
okay.
else.
The movie had heart. That's
Yeah.
all that matters.
Someone else said original masterpiece and gave it a 7 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
Someone else said it was a waste of time and gave it a 1 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
Another person, which it reminded me of your explanations for
Who?
some movies.
Who, me?
Yeah, a revelation in storytelling, cinematography, and marketing.
What? That's on this one, man.
That's how you explain like your movie.
Okay, maybe
Big
I do.
extravagant
That was
words.
a fine piece of cinematography, god damn it.
Someone said the Blair Witch Project walked so Kim Kardashian could run.
Oh my god.
And they give it 3 stars and a
3
heart.
stars.
Someone said, shake it, shake it like the Blair Witch Project camera, and gave it 4 stars and a heart.
People are having fun with it.
Yeah. And then someone else said, hi, I'm Johnny Knoxville, and this is the Blair Witch Project. And then they just gave it a little heart.
I like it. I like it. Thanks for your reviews.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. And then Angelus, what would you rate this movie?
Can I share one review before we go to our personal ratings?
Sure. Yeah, go ahead. This is a shared segment.
A sure segment.
Mainly Vienna's, but Angelus loves this part too.
They're funny. Okay, only because this person was completely in the wrong section for leaving a review,
Mm-hmm.
but they still gave it 5 stars. They said, this escape room is totally amazing. Without giving anything away, it's got all the amazing parts from the movie that makes you feel like you're actually there. I recommend this room to anyone who wants to have a great time, a few scares, and an adventure they will never forget. So this person went to an escape room that was Blair Witch themed, and instead of leaving the review there at this business, they came to the Blair Witch Project
And the movie.
and reviewed it on Google.
So what was the stars?
And they gave it 5 stars.
Oh,
They
shit.
loved it.
Okay.
Yeah, overall, it seems like people liked it back in the day. Someone mentioned that it was great for when it came out. Apparently, the actors were kept away from the cameras and given interviews
Mm.
for some time to just kind of feed more into the
Oh, yeah. Huh.
disappeared.
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit. So first, would you recommend this movie?
I would recommend it if you haven't, like Richard said, I feel like the more you watch it, the less of that
Loses its
scare
luster.
effect it has. But if you've never watched it, or maybe if you only watched it one time, I would recommend you watch it.
All right. Yeah, I would recommend it too. This is one of those ones. It's one of those movies that are a game changer. So I'd put it up on the Mount Rushmore of horror movies, that kind of pushed the genre to the next level.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's necessary to watch it, and I think it holds up, and it's the best found footage movie out there. Now, I could be wrong. Please let us know. Send me an email. I love to hear your thoughts on it. And again, if we didn't get all this correct, the story, we tried our best. We're not perfect, but we try to take extensive notes. This one's a little more difficult for the found footage aspect. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
Like scene for scene, it's a little harder. For me, at least it was.
What would you rate it?
So me, yeah, so I definitely recommend it. What was your rating?
I haven't given it a rating.
You go first.
What? I want to know so I can, one
You go first.
I'm just kidding. I think a 3.5.
3.5?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no. So I'm right there with you. Again, found footage isn't for me, but I would give it a 4.
Okay. It seems like so far you're a lot more generous with your ratings.
Because I love horror, man. Like I can kind of see the goodness even in the flaws. I kind of, you see it in people, I see it in horror movies. Okay.
I thought you were gonna be more critical. Hey,
I am a little critical. Like there are moments, but we've had some highlight movies. Critters 3, I'm pretty sure I gave it like a 1.5, and you gave it a 3, man.
I gave it a 2.5.
Yeah.
And then I feel like once you the execution was great,
Mm-hmm.
and then once you learn of the behind the scenes, it makes you appreciate it a lot more.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, folks, we gotta wind this down. We're gonna go see Abigail. Which pumped for. Angels, where can they find us?
Social medias, Facebook, Instagram.
What's our handle?
At Horror Cinema Obsession.
Hash Brown Horror Cinema Obsession. And again, our email, horrorcinemaobsession@hotmail.com. Please reach out to us, subscribe to us, listen to us, guys. We want to build a core of people. The following we do have, we appreciate you. We love you guys. Stay obsessed. Talk to you later.
Peace out.